It's good times.
I don't like scotch. I like whiskey is the best comment I get all the time.
That drives me crazy. Or I don't really like whiskey. I like bourbon.
Yeah.
It's like, sorry, what?
Hey, welcome to Super Social Club. I'm Jeremy.
It's Whiskey in the 6. I'm Rob.
Welcome to the Whisky Rant Podcast.
It's a little crusty.
It's frustrating.
And it's going to be a little bit of a rant.
I don't understand it. I don't know why.
Some sort of injustice.
Anyway, end rant.
Hello and welcome back to the Whisky Rant Podcast. I'm Jeremy.
I'm Rob.
And today we have the newest edition of the Cairdeas line from Laphroaig. It's Warehouse 1.
Yeah, Maker's Mark cask.
A Maker's Mark cask. Yeah, interesting that they are putting that on the back of the tin. Kind of like a marketing ploy, I guess. Maker's Mark, one of the more known bourbons. One distillery that kind of got into doing that, or the first one that I noticed was Bruichladdich. They were like kind of playing like, here's where we're getting our ex-bourbon cask from. You know, it's Jack Daniels, it's wherever. Kind of cool. I like that they do that.
It does matter in my opinion, right? Like, you know that, I mean, I'm not the biggest Maker's Mark fan, but you know that Maker's Mark really cares about their wood. Like, they're constantly like treating it well, and they have that whole like seasoned like wood program.
Sure.
So
yeah, of course, they were one of the bigger producers, and obviously they take great pride in their cask. So therefore, you think that their ex cask would be great for maturation. We'll review this one for you guys tonight. Warehouse 1, which is situated, I believe, closest to the water at the Laphroaig facility. So maybe getting a little more of that coastal element implemented into this whiskey.
I wonder. I mean, it would be cool to compare it to something else that's not from Warehouse 1.
Yeah. And we do have some others, Laphroaigs, that maybe we'll compare this to, see what we think it most similar to from their lineup.
Sitting in the wings off screen.
Is Laphroaig running out of ideas for their Cairdeas line?
I mean, it's hard, right? Like
it's hard to not repeat what they've done before. They've done a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and they're already starting to kind of repeat, right? Like, they did the port, then they did a port and wine. You know, like, eventually it's gonna...
You're gonna come right back full circle.
Exactly, right? I mean, it would be cool if they took like a different twist, like try it in a mezcal cask, or try it in a tequila cask, or try it in like a rum cask, or something crazy like that. I don't know. Has there been a Cairdeas in a rum cask?
I'm just trying to look that up. I don't know. Has there been?
I know there's been a Fino. That was the yellow one. There's been the PX, which I actually have right here off screen. This one right here, which I really like, by the way. The PX.
Last year's PX cask, Cairdeas was great. Yeah.
Still haven't reviewed that one, to be honest, but they've done a bunch of cool ones. Mm-hmm. I think they gotta start just going back to age stated, and then that in and of itself will be different, right?
I'm trying to look up and seeing if Whiskey Base had an estimate on bottles produced for the Cairdeas line. I do not see that. I'm sure that it's quite a few.
You know, and what's cool is, like, I know these are non-age stated, but you gotta assume that they're pretty up there in age, like at least 10 years old, like, or in and around that age, because...
I mean, I figure for the price point, right, you would assume that it is comparable to what they charge for their 10. Like, they charge more, obviously, the higher ABV, but it seems like it is in line that it would be...
Yeah, like what's the 10 go for? Like around $80?
$80 here, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure you can find it for a lot cheaper in other markets, but
yeah.
So we'll review this one for you guys tonight. You get our first impressions of it and our scores, and also tonight we're going to talk about, is the secondary market seen its peak? We have some examples of some very popular auction bottles that would appear that maybe we've had hit the peak of where whiskey is going to go, because sometimes you get these bottles and they are outrageously high at auction.
Yeah. Right now, we're kind of seeing a dip in Ontario in the housing market. So, for those of you that don't know, in Ontario, during COVID, housing went up like almost 100%. Like, it was absurd. Like, it went up like absurd. Not, obviously, it wasn't 100%, but it was a lot. And then about, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, the government decided to get involved with the banks and start raising interest rates in order to tackle inflation.
Sure, happening all over the world.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're raising interest rates, and now the market is like almost at a standstill. Like, a lot of people aren't buying at the moment. So what's happening is people that are forced to sell. Maybe they have something being built that's already being like closing very soon, whatever the case may be. They are now dropping their prices rapidly. So an example in this area is, a house that was listed really high has taken a 20% hit. I'm not going to get into numbers and stuff like that, but it's been a 20% hit already from its peak. So we're talking at the peak, it was what, in the fall of this year? Or sorry, fall of 2021? I think that's happening with whiskey right now.
Yeah, of course. You take a look at inflation, you can, the writing's been on the wall. Like, there is a recession potentially happening, when goods are, luxury goods are the first thing to get hit.
Yeah. And I think the secondary market is a great indication as to where the retail market will head soon. Right?
Sure.
Like right now, the retail market hasn't caught up because the secondary is still so much further ahead of the retail, right? Like you can't buy last year's PX cartridge is probably worth like $250 right now, right? Or at least at its peak. That bottle is retail $100. So that's not, you're not going to see a drop there anytime soon. Mm-hmm. It's when people are not even willing to spend $1 over retail, which could happen within the next year.
Yeah, I mean, we have some examples of some stuff that looks like it's kind of peaked. Because, I mean, the market just got so out of control, right? And we're seeing this too in like secondary groups that I'm a part of. There's less participation now, right? The price of bottles are so insane that like where you normally put in, let's say $20 to get into like a lotto to win a bottle, now it's $45. Now it's $55 for the exact same bottle that it was, 2-3 years ago.
Which is absurd.
And people just lost interest. It's just like, it doesn't make sense because like with these secondary markets of some bottles, it's almost like, are you going to even open it? It's like whiskey has become this thing where it's not even a consumable anymore. It's just a trade commodity that changes hands over and over and over again.
Yeah, we got into this with Ralphie. Like, I jokingly called it the tangible NFT. And we're seeing stuff like that also take a hit too.
Of course.
Like Bitcoin, for example.
I mean, Bitcoin, just like Geronimo. See you later.
But we've seen this happen with Bitcoin before.
Sure.
We've seen it drop to like literally nothing almost.
Yeah, and it can rebound. Of course it can rebound. But yeah, you're right. So let's take an example of a couple of things here. One bottle that's actually really interesting to look at was the Springbank 21. Because this thing spiked insanely huge a span of like 1 or 2 months.
Almost like, it was almost fishy. Like all at once, every Springbank, right? Yeah. Every Springbank just went nuts.
Yeah, so where you're looking at auction prices for the Springbank 21, around 450 British pounds. Now we're getting these from Scotch Whisky Auctions, is one of the bigger UK auction sites. It spiked to just about 11, almost 1,200 pounds. So that's like an insane increase. Now we're looking back to about 700 pounds or so. So, huge peak, but come right back down to earth almost.
Yeah.
Taking a look at something kind of more old school, Macallan. Let's look at Macallan, 18-year-old, the 1997. So this was the last year before they changed the bottle type.
Right before they changed it to a bottling date as opposed to a vintage date.
Right. So this thing was like around 400 pounds, give or take, up to 500 pounds. Peaked at almost 1,000 pounds. Now right back down to 700 again. So that looked like that could be a peak for that bottle. That's insane.
That's insane. That's absurd. I mean, like, we're talking about the same bottle that they release every single year. It's not like it's super limited. It's probably not. There's probably like 100,000 bottled a year, maybe a little bit less than that.
Yeah, I mean, the older the vintage you have, the more it's worth.
Yeah.
But it's, again, still, that's not a bottle that you would ever consider opening at that price because it's just the quality is just not there.
What about all those people that are like making a fortress with like bourbon, with like that like high end secondary like bourbon that retail costs $100?
That's got to be peaking. I mean, you would think so, just because it comes out over and over and over again. But, you know, people hoard it, right?
I guess, yeah.
Like, you take a look at our good Instagram friend with this stupid Macallan freaking Harmony, the rich cacao cask.
Yeah.
Right? This
Yeah.
fucking idiot has a wall of boxes.
How do you really feel, Jeremy?
I mean, I can't stand that. You know, he's bragging about the auction prices going insane, and sure, they peaked at just over 500 pounds, but now, you know, less than
dropping.
400 pounds.
There you go.
You know, it's
There you go.
dropping. So, where this guy think he's making a fortune on this thing could just straight go right back to retail.
It's gonna happen, and honestly, it sucks, but it has to happen. It has to happen. Like, I feel bad for the people that took out a line of credit in order to invest in some of these bottles, paid the peak at secondary. It's gonna come down. It's like, you know, like, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are experiencing the same in the housing market. They paid the peak, and now they gotta wait a while until their house is worth what they paid.
Right.
It's sad, but it's reality. It's you know, economics. You get lucky sometimes.
Yeah.
That's why the best route of action is always to buy a retail. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
While you were talking there, I pulled out the Laphroaig 10 cask strength from January 2021. So this is last year's edition, batch 13.
Mm-hmm. A
check
good
out the
comparison
color.
to this?
Check out the color difference. So I'm wondering, what is this straight bourbon maturation on the cask strength?
I don't know. I don't know if it discloses it.
It doesn't say here. I remember reading somewhere that there's like European oak, so I would assume that means sherry.
Right. So first impressions on this Cairdeas Warehouse 1. Very like vibrant, lots of like, this is Laphroaig, right?
Yep.
This is unmistakable, classic Laphroaig profile. Nice sweetness on the nose.
Nice sweetness on the nose. You get like almost like a oceany, fishy kind of note. Like,
Very maritime.
Yeah.
So maybe that Warehouse 1 being close to the water does have an effect.
yeah, like I want to call it clammy. Like I don't think it's a fishy note that I'm getting, but I associate
Sure.
what I'm smelling.
Yeah,
with,
it's like sea spray.
Yes.
It's the wet rocks. It's that kind of like
Yeah.
maritime.
Yeah.
Yeah, like fish shell kind of
Mm-hmm.
note to it.
Yes, sir. And we're at 52.2%. We said that already.
Yeah.
Warehouse 1.
Yeah.
It's, you know what? There's virtually, I mean, people like to laugh at me because, you know, I could add a little bit of gasoline in my in my drinks and still not feel like it's hot, but
Yeah.
52.2. I would say drinks closer to like 46.
Yeah, you would probably guess 46 if on first try. So
Maybe, I mean, the finish kind of tells you that there's a little bit more than that, right?
yeah, the finish lingers. It's nice. I mean, where would you say this ranks as far as like Laphroaig peat?
I don't feel like it's super peaty. I don't know, do you?
It seems more mild than something like this would be, which was the 10-year-old cask
Right.
strength. I mean, the 10-year-old cask strength usually has the reputation of being like Laphroaig's like benchmark.
The
for,
big
like, if
peat.
you want that crazy Laphroaig peat.
Yeah. The quarter cask, I think, is the most peated, if I'm not mistaken. Or at least tastes the most, or smells the most peated. This one has been open, so there's a little bit of a disclosure here, for like months, maybe almost a year.
Yeah.
You know, so it's going to make a difference on the peat
And
level.
the Laphroaig does nicely round out when you've got the bottle open for a while. Even if you've got it like super low for years, you can go back to that and you just be like very, very nice.
You never have to gas cask strength Laphroaig.
Never.
Honestly, though, what's the price difference between these two? I think you can buy the new cask strength, the batch 14, for like what, $130 in
I just bought one from the LCBO.
Oh, did you really?
Yeah.
140?
Maybe. Yeah. 145? That sounds about right.
It was pretty. Honestly, the Laphroaig is always pretty reasonable at the LCBO.
Yeah. Another mystery.
Yeah, which makes no sense.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the cask strength's always good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, out of all the cask strengths I've had, this was the worst. Being open for so long, it's so good now. But I think this needs probably a little bit of time. This is a fresh crack, right? Yeah. It's good. It's good for some.
I love the sweetness.
Yeah.
The sweetness and the balance of the smoke and the peat and that medicinal seems to work really well. I feel like they blended it pretty good for the masses for this one.
So I think it's been almost a year since I've done my last Laphroaig, just because I did so much last summer. So maybe something about summer makes me want to drink Laphroaig. I don't know.
That's the opposite in
I know.
what I would want
usually, but I feel like my mind for that is changing.
Is Laphroaig the summertime peated whiskey?
Laphroaig is the best outdoor whiskey for me. And the reason for that is it stands up to what all the nuances that you're picking up in the air outside. Right. So like I'm still gonna get that Laphroaig nose. I'm gonna identify that as Laphroaig. It's gonna be a lot easier. Or like, as opposed to, I'm getting a Glenallachie and I'm like, damn, on the nose I can't. Like you've seen me in a blind. I rely heavily on that nose. You know what I mean? Like that's kind of determining where I'm placing things.
Yeah. I mean, Laphroaig, self-proclaimed the most flavorful Scotch in Scotland, and you're right, for outside drinking, nothing's gonna cut through this.
No,
right?
No, exactly. And I think that's why I gravitate toward, like, for me, when I think Laphroaig, I think like campfire. I think summertime, cottage.
Right. Perfect. Like
right?
like a campfire would complement this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, would pair it with it almost.
Absolutely. You take a sip of the cast strength?
Yeah. Yeah, I do like this cast strength.
That cast strength's great.
Is there a cast strength you've had that hasn't been good? I think all the batches are pretty solid.
There was a Cairdeas cast strength, was there not?
Mm-hmm.
They called it the cast strength?
Mm-hmm.
But are these all cast strength, or are they just like watered down to like high 50s?
I'm going to assume, because this one does not say cast strength on it.
Yeah.
Previous years did. The PX does say cast strength right on the front.
That's right.
Right?
Yes, it does.
And that ABV is what?
58.9.
58.9. So we're down to 52 point whatever, half?
52.2.
52.2. So yeah, I would assume that this has water added. I mean, if they're not going to say cast strength, then obviously it's not cast strength. And it's not going to be cast strength at 52. Not with just ex-bourbon maturation for,
I feel like this
8
might
to
be
10 years,
older than the cast strength, though. The Maker's Mark Cairdeas.
You think maybe this is older than 10? Or a combination of some older casts in there as well.
Which, mind you, so like the cast strength 10 could also have older whiskey in it. But it drinks, I know what's the difference here? 57.9. So, 5% difference, 5.5% to 5 point whatever percent difference.
Yeah, I mean, you could contribute maybe some older whiskey in this new Cairdeas as the reason why you don't get as much of that peat note.
Yeah.
And of course, maybe like the watering it down also contributes to that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it definitely plays a factor, but I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's good. I find it interesting, the color difference. I don't know if the camera. Oh, I just spilled something again. Color. I don't know if the camera's gonna pick that.
I
up.
doubt it. I'm just gonna say that the 10-year-old's a bit darker, right?
It's about 2 shades darker,
Yeah.
right?
But we don't know if the 10's 100% ex-bourbon cast matured. It could have a couple.
I'm gonna try to buy one of those color like charts. You ever seen those before?
Where you can hold it up to your whiskey and see what
And
shade
see
it is.
Yeah. Like,
What's the point of that?
I don't know. It's pretty cool. It would
Just
be,
to see if
it
it's
would be
really
better
close?
to describe these two.
I see.
Right? Like, this is a 1, and then this one is like a 4.
I see. And then the viewers at home could pull out their little thing
Right.
and be like, okay.
We could sell a Whisky Rant
this color
version
of
of
this
one.
color of pea. So secondary market. Let's just go back to that. What are we looking? Are we gonna see it just crash? Are we just gonna see it come right down? Because like,
I think so.
here's something that people do in the secondary market to inflate their price, right? Like this idiot on Instagram has all of this inventory. No one else can buy any because he's
Right.
bought it all up.
They corner the market.
He gets his buddy to go onto these auction sites and pump up the bottle, right?
That's right.
So now it's artificially inflated,
Yep.
and then he tries to dump it.
Right.
We don't know if he's done. I don't think he's dumped it because he's constantly posting more pictures on his stupid Instagram about how many more bottles he has. So it's an artificial inflation
Yeah.
of this bottle,
Yep.
right? And now, if people aren't paying this money, it could just drop right off. I mean, I think you're still going to have your Pappies up there. You're still going to have these big name things.
Yeah.
But something like this Macallan, this
Cacao.
Harmony,
Yeah.
which is like, is it
Yeah.
too that they saturated the market with it? Like, do people care that much about this bottle
I wonder.
that's going to take off like a Macallan Edition 1 took off?
So I poured Glenallachie 12 and Macallan Harmony the other day blind for like 3 guys. and all of them picked the Glenallachie 12 over the Macallan Harmony, right? So think about that. There's no secondary market for the Glenallachie 12 at all.
Yeah.
Like it's retail $70.
Yeah, but like the bottles that get the most amount of secondary market love are not the best drinking whiskeys.
Which is mind-boggling to me, because like, what the hell's the point of collecting a whiskey that's garbage? Like, like to get your ponies? Like, I don't understand it.
Yeah.
I'll never understand it. It's actually detrimental. So in a lot of ways, I do hope that the secondary market tanks a bit, because like you said, the ones that are the gems are still gonna stick around.
Yeah.
Like off camera, we have a Spey Malt Macallan Gordon MacPhail. It's, in my opinion, it's a gem. It's a 21-year-old Macallan
At cast strength.
at cast strength.
Yeah.
Gordon MacPhail's not using bad cherry casks for that. They're
No.
deciding to use like their best, right?
Right.
So like, and you're getting that. The retail on that is around $350.
Sure. The cheaper than you could buy an official bottle of Macallan 18 for.
18.
Right? 18.
Right.
And we're getting
At
21
43
at cast strength.
Right.
At 43%.
At 43%.
Right?
So
But that bottle can like commands secondary market price. I'm not saying this one doesn't. It would.
it will.
But not-
this one rightly so. Whereas, like, what the hell are
Sure.
we buying the Macallan 18 at 43% for? Who
And we
gives a
had
shit?
this conversation in our previous rant about the secondary market, and the stuff that we purchase on the secondary market is stuff like this
Mm-hmm.
that we think is worth the secondary market price, right?
Exactly.
We talked about some
Yeah,
stuff from Shelter
like-
Point, like those really good batches that we would pay double retail for that because we
Right.
think it's worth it.
Absolutely. Like, Mike and Narby pull out some bottles that, like, are worth like $2,000, $5,000, whatever they're worth, and it's like, hell yeah, I'd pay that for that. Like, that's a once in a lifetime experience to try something like that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not a once in a lifetime experience to try a Pappy Van Winkle. It's
No,
just not.
they
Like,
make it every year.
it's every year, and eventually you're gonna stumble into a bar, you're gonna stumble into a friend, you're gonna figure out a way to try that whiskey and be like, like, that's
Right.
gonna be your reaction, right?
Yeah.
Like, not like, oh my god. It's gonna be like, yeah, okay.
If you take a look at everyone who's like reviewed Pappy Van Winkle, they all say the same thing. Yes, it's good whiskey.
Yeah.
It's good bourbon. No
Yeah.
doubt about it. It is
Yeah.
good.
They're not
but
doing
is
that.
it worth the secondary price? Every single person will say absolutely not.
Anybody in their right mind trying that, saying it's worth what it's, like, the liquid is worth what it's valued at, is absurd.
Yeah.
They're absurd. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I would love to see a secondary market crash. I mean, just because I have nothing, I'm not sitting on anything.
Yeah,
so
you
it's
just
nothing on me.
unloaded. You unloaded in the peak.
I did unload in the peak, yeah.
Well, you know what? It's like anything else. If you can weather the storm, it might come back up.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, something with every like cycle, you hope that something corrects and is a little, and makes the next cycle a little stronger. So
Yeah.
it's not it won't suffer as much. You know what I mean?
Right.
And in this case, I hope it's quality whiskey that is highly sought after, and
Yeah.
you don't have to be in allocation for like any stupid bourbon or any stupid, like, I'm sorry, like, there was a time where Springbank 12 was easily accessible. You can buy it off the shelf. That's not the case anymore. Springbank 10, same thing. Springbank 15, same thing. Like, that shouldn't be. That the only reason that's happening is because people are buying a bunch of it and sitting on it and not drinking it,
Yeah.
right? Because if it was just buy one, consume it, you know, like, even have a second as a backup to consume, nobody's ever gonna like stockpile these kind of whiskeys. You know what I mean? Like, it's not worth it. So once that stops,
Yeah.
you know, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see a drip, like a drop. Sorry, I think.
I think for sure. I think you're right. So let's go to this Laphroaig. What are you gonna say on the nose? Let's go through it. A few notes, nose, palate, and we'll score it. Like we said before, it's very maritime.
Yeah.
It's very wet rocks. It's seashells. It's that like sea breeze, that ocean spray. Mm-hmm. It's very maritime, I would say.
There's like a nice, like, when you wade through that, like, I don't get a lot of peat. I don't know about you, but I'm not getting a ton. I get like a nice, like vanilla powdered sugar kind of note.
Yeah, I love the sweetness on it is really good.
Yeah.
I do get peat, but when you're comparing it to like Laphroaig,
Yeah.
it's less than you would normally get.
Yeah. Yeah, like I get more on the cask strength.
Yeah, on the palate, I think a lot of the notes from the nose translate to the palate. I love the balance between the sweetness and the peat and that brininess. I would say that this is like maybe not as like medicinal as other Laphroaigs are.
I'm right there with you. Like,
right? It's like the medicinal level has been turned down.
Absolutely, medicinal levels turned down. Like, there's something classic about Laphroaig that goes beyond peat, right? There's something that like is identifiable, and you can still find it in the older expressions that they have. That's there. The essence of Laphroaig is there. But I would say the peat is dialed back. Like you said, the hospital like bandage, like that kind of note dial back.
That like muscle cream medicinal note, right?
Yeah, not there. It's not as like, magic marker kind of note there. A little bit more maritime, a little bit more sweet, a little bit more like ironed out almost, right? I get zero heat on this palate, like especially now side by side with the cask strength. There's like, I know the water has like watering it down to maybe 52 whatever. Yeah. Maybe this started at 60 or whatever it did. I feel like there might be something else involved in that, because even at 52.2 you would think it drinks a little hotter. Yeah. So I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think score-wise for me on this, it's a very easy 86. I think it's got lots of good elements to it, but I think when you put it in a price point that's comparable to the 10-year-old cask strength, I would have to lean cask strength every single time, like without a doubt. Yeah. I honestly, I think for me, like, I've had this profile of Laphroaig before. It's like this. It's not giving me anything new. It's just the same. It's the same thing. This just like slightly, very slightly different.
It reminds me of the standard 10-year-old with a bit more ABV. I feel like it's like when you compare these two, you almost feel like this one might be chill filtered. Like it almost has that kind of chill filtered kind of essence to it.
I feel like I say this a lot sometimes in my reviews. It's like it's been blended for the masses. Right. It's the edge has been taken off of it, and it appeals to more drinkers. Not necessarily what we look for in a new whiskey that we're opening for the first time.
Yeah, I would say the biggest difference is viscosity here. I mean, and with that viscosity, you get a little bit more of that Laphroaig, like magic marker and medicinal and whatever with the cask strength. Whereas I'm not getting majority of that with the new cartridge. I like them both.
I'm enjoying it. I am enjoying this.
Yeah, I think it's great. Honestly, I think it's great. I think there's a time and a place for both of these, if you know what I mean. Like the cask strength, I can't drink every single night. It's a big, bold whiskey, and if I drink that, I'm not having anything else after it. Like that's gonna dominate my palate. Yeah. Whereas this, you could pour this and it'll be whatever. So I think because of that, I'm gonna give this one an 87. I like this one.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I like this one. Nice. Yeah. We are excited about the drop in, or the potential drop in whiskey prices, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to get back into, the secondary market game, playing some more lotteries, because it was like so much fun back when I first started out.
A couple bucks here and there.
Yeah, like everyone throws in $20. You can win yourself a good bottle of something that you would want to open and drink. Yeah. Now it's like you got to spend $45 to win it, and then once you have this bottle, it's like, okay, this is like $1,000 bottle. Yeah. Like, that's crazy. It's not worth $1,000. No. Should I open this? Like, it's crazy.
I don't want to.
So it goes back up to lottery again. Right? Exactly. It's like over and over and over.
Yeah. I don't want to have to buy something, and that's why like usually my motto is bring it home, open it right away. Because if you don't, you start to look up the prices. You start to like, it's the devil in your ear, like saying like, no, don't open that, man. You can get good money for that bottle. Yeah. And like I hate doing that, and I try to always at least open one of like whatever I buy, right? So
yeah, I mean, the LCBO, I would have to say, is doing a better job at taking their like allocated bottles that are super popular and putting them online for a 1 per customer or a 2 per customer kind of thing. Yeah. The rollout recently was better. Yeah. They had Laphroaig 10-year-old cask strength
Which
as
is
an
cool.
example
Yeah.
of that, which is great because people just don't go into the store and buy up cases and cases and cases.
Yeah.
They did it with bourbons, right?
Yep.
They had the Weller 107
Yeah.
special reserve.
Everybody had a shot at that.
as well. Everyone had a shot at it. Same with Blanton's.
So are we giving the LCBO like some ticks?
We should give them maybe a couple, but we should also pump our brakes because I talked to a friend of mine who also got into the same thing.
Yeah.
Bought himself a couple bottles, and then LCBO came back to them and was like, sorry, we're not giving you these.
What?
Because you ordered them too late and the inventory was gone, even though it had very specific inventory levels on the site.
Wow.
So what he's concluded is that they potentially oversold.
Right.
They didn't have their numbers right. Shocker.
Yeah.
Absolute shocker. Or some big restaurant, some big client came in and be like, I need 12 cases.
That sounds about
Cancel your last 150 orders, right?
Unbelievable.
So as we do give them points, we don't give them too many too quick because they're still messing up at a just disgusting level.
So 2 steps forward, one step back.
Exactly. Maybe one day they will actually get their shit together and do it completely right. But
You guys almost had us.
right, to order something and know that there's like, still hundreds of bottles left
Yeah.
and be like securing your spot and then getting an email saying that your order's been canceled because of this is like just classic LCBO. Classic LCBO.
Idiots.
So I'm an 86, you're an 87.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that if you don't have a Laphroaig collection, this one might be something that you'd be interested in. But if you have other bottles, I mean, this profile is something that we've had before. So it's nothing really that unique or new. I don't think too much about Laphroaig.
Yeah, no, it's very good. Like I said, it's lighter. It's a little bit more of an everyday kind of pour and play whiskey as opposed to the cask strength, which I think you need to like set aside a night for Laphroaig that cask strength. You can't have much after that.
Sure.
So
I'm getting a little bit of baking spices on this now, which is actually really nice.
yeah, honestly, it's good. I actually really like it. I bet you if we like did this at the end of the summer, this bottle would go up a point each for each of us. You know what I mean?
That's probably true because once you get this thing down past the shoulder, you let it sit a couple months, it's gonna open up, probably get a little more complex.
Has Laphroaig become the most reliable whiskey company from Scotland in the last 6 years?
Consistent releases,
Consistently good.
decently priced for our market. Anyway.
For our market, for
We're
sure.
a market where we pay stupid money for stuff.
Yeah.
These seem to be okay.
Yeah, and even up until recently, like the higher end stuff was still pretty well priced. And like recently, it took a spike, but
Yeah.
like you could 2 years ago, you could buy the 25-year-old for like $400.
They came up with a 10-year-old cherry. It was pretty solid.
Yeah,
It
I
was
like
pretty
that a lot,
solid.
actually,
I liked
yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
gave it a decent score. I think maybe a tick higher than this one.
This PX I really enjoy.
Last year's PX was great.
Yeah, the 16 that they came out with was pretty good. The quarter cask is always good.
I'm waiting for them to recreate the 18-year-old. The Green Tin 18 was
That was-
such a gem from them.
But that's an anomaly.
We might only be
whiskey.
a couple years away.
Yeah.
Because the 16, we
Maybe.
might get an 18
Although
that's really good.
I will say this is 48%. The 16, very good. But probably my most disappointing Laphroaig out of the last like 10 that I bought.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's still very good. So like that says a lot. I think.
If the Freud can get back to that 18 Green Tin, it's good. I agree with you.
If Laphroaig raises their standard 10-year-old 3%, they will go down as my favorite distillery because like they're just always consistent. Always like you pick up a Laphroaig, you know what you're getting.
Yeah.
And it's enjoyable.
Throw a half ounce of Laphroaig into your old fashioned, substitute the simple syrup with maple syrup, and you've got yourself a phenomenal cocktail. I guarantee you'll love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would go the full like 1 ounce, 1.5 ounce cask strength.
Yeah. Do an ounce of bourbon, a half ounce of Laphroaig, maple syrup instead of simple syrup. Absolutely amazing.
I think we are both old fashioned guys, yeah?
My favorite cocktail.
Yeah,
By far.
yeah. Apparently there's a thing like you're either an old fashioned guy or a Manhattan guy. You can't be both.
Yeah. See, I'm not huge on vermouth.
Okay.
I don't like vermouth that much. I've only had a couple that I thought were decent,
Right.
and I've had it vermouth like a very small amount in different kinds of cocktails, not just Manhattan.
Okay.
But yeah, if you don't like vermouth, then you're not gonna like it.
That makes sense. I'm definitely an old fashioned guy. Yeah. That was fun.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Leave us a comment down below. Are you excited about this new cartridge line? Do you think that Laphroaig has run out of ideas? They're just going to we got stuff from Warehouse 1. It's all makers.
Yeah.
That's their thing.
Are you pro or con secondary market plummeting?
Oh, yeah. Are you sitting on a bunch of stuff?
Are you sitting on a bunch of stuff and really hoping it doesn't, or do you not care?
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll see. We'll see about the market. I mean, I think we'll see fluctuations on stuff, right?
Yeah.
Big name stuff, I think, will continue to be big.
Yep.
But those fringe things on the outside that you think might go crazy, I think they're going to plummet, man. I think they're going down.
I think so. I think you're bang on.
I think they're going down. All right, that's going to do it for us. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Leave a comment down below. Give us a like. And we'll see you next time, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers.